So I am going to be making a couple recipes today, so I'm going to be doing a couple videos. This is primarily for family and friends, and I'm sharing the link, and I'll end up putting the recipe that I have into the description when I post it. So first we're going to start off with just mixing up my sourdough and getting the ingredients together and what I need. Hold on one second. I'm going to be clipping together another video to this one because I found an app for that. So that way it's all one big video. So I used goat's milk in my recipes. It's this. I got it at Walmart. I like it. It works for me. So it's 4 tablespoons to 1 cup of milk, and it's sitting there right now. I'm making my cinnamon roll dough, and then I need to let it set to double in size. It calls for 2 3/4 cup flour, I just leave my 1/3 cup in there for when I'm feeding my sourdough. There's 1/2 cup. One cup. One and a half. 2, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. Then it calls for 1/4 of a cup of sugar. Now this is a yeasted dough, so I'm going to measure 3/4 of a cup of my goat's milk out and put my yeast in it to activate. First, I need to finish mixing my goat's milk, so that way it's all together. I've noticed there are some clumpies in it, like normal dried milk would normally have when you're making it. It works though. So, where's my yeast? I personally like the Fleischmann's instant yeast. It says bread machine, but you don't have to have a bread machine to use it. There's 1, 2, and 1/2, 1/4. And the way that you know yeast is still good is when it clings to the side of things, it's still alive. And personally, me, I put my salt in the yeast. And it calls for 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. Now 3/4 of a cup of milk. Here's 1/4. Almost. 1/4. 2/4. 3/4. And just mix that in and let it sit. It'll foam up once it's ready. Usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Now this takes 3 tablespoons of butter, which I have melting. I'll get to grab that. It's ready because it's nice and soft. And it calls for 1 egg. I use a large egg because that's what I found I like, and it comes up even better when you use duck eggs. But I've washed my chicken eggs, which is fresh from a double yolk. Okay, that's gonna definitely be rich in protein. And I know you hear a lot of chirping. That's because it is my chicks in the background. And this has been sitting for a couple minutes. And it's nice and creamy and smooth. That makes it the right consistency. Add a little bit of yeast down at the bottom. There we go. I use a fork until I get to here. Just makes it a little bit quicker. And then goes to the hands. some reason it is a little dry. Probably because it's so dry in the house. So, when that happens, I just add a little extra liquid. Just a little bit. Goes a long way. Point. Baking mat. I just put my bowl off to the side. Nope. Bit of extra because I want to get all this flour in. It never hurts. Add a little extra moisture so that way the dough is not as dry. Charging cord. And every time that I knead it, I turn it so that way it keeps it together. And the more you knead it, the more you break down the gluten. this point, you have a nice, stiff ball of dough that is ready to go rise. So what I do, once the ball is shaped, I have a glass bowl. And I put a little bit of oil. That way there's not too much excess oil in the bowl. It's just there to keep it from sticking. And then I just put some on the top of it. Like that. I'm gonna wet paper towel over the top and put it up to set. And that is it. Okay, once the dough has almost doubled in size, that's when I make the inside filling for my cinnamon rolls. My cinnamon roll filling is 3 tablespoons butter, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, and 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. That's what the recipe calls for. I personally use a full stick of butter. It's 8 tablespoons because, well, I like the cinnamon and I love the flavors that come from it. And with doing a full stick of butter, I do a 1/2 cup of cinnamon sugar, or not cinnamon sugar, brown sugar. And where'd my cinnamon go? Well, oh, that's my apple pie spice. Ground cinnamon. And I do a little bit extra, so it's probably about a 1/2 tablespoon. So 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. And then I just cream that together. Sometimes the butter is a little hard, so I'll stick it near the back side of my stove because it vents out the back as I'm preheating the oven to 375. that's it for the insides. Now at this point I need to clear space because the dough has doubled in size, so I need to roll it out. And this is just leftover flour from when I was mixing it up, because you need to flour the thing anyways, your surface. And this is doubled in size. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the way that I do it is I go counterclockwise. And because this is the wet side, and this is kind of dry, it's not too dried out, but I put that down. With my rolling pin. And this is why I usually leave my measuring cup in there, because I need a little bit of extra. Just to sprinkle. And it really depends on how thick you want your layers as to how thin you're going to roll this out. I generally will roll mine out almost to the size of my mat. Keyword almost. Because my guy likes to have many layers. Try and do it as square as I can. I like to roll to me because it makes it just a little bit. And today it's not working with me, so c'est la vie. But at this point, it's just spreading our butter mixture. Whoop. Now, mind you, my hands are washed prior to starting to bake. And you can use spatulas. But I'm a firm believer the good Lord gave me hands before utensils, so. Plus, doing it this way, it softens the butter up if it's hardened at all in the time that it's taken for you to have your dough rise. Because the heat from your hand slightly melts the butter. And makes it much smoother to handle. And you want a nice even layer. I like to bring it all the way to the edges. Okay. And at this point, I am going to pause because I need to wash my hands before I start rolling. Okay. So, me, I just do this. The centerpiece is going to have more rolls than the rest because it didn't roll out to a flat line, and that's okay. I don't push on it, I don't stretch it, I don't force it to roll. Another way that you can do it is from the end. I like trying to keep it somewhat. And bring it back to me so I'm not overstretching. And then I just, however big you want your cinnamon rolls to be, roll it out a little bit more. Not a lot of pressure because you have a lot of layers in there and you don't want to destroy them. Now for me, I use a knife to cut mine. Another trick you can do is with, what is it called? Floss. You go ahead and you floss it. This is the pan that I'm using. Get it off to the side for a moment. For me, my thumb from here to my first crease is about 1 inch. I like making mine about 1.5 inches, so it goes to here on my thumb. And very lightly, I saw back and forth, straight down, until it cuts. I like putting the end pieces in there, the center, because they're not as quite big as the rest of it, because those are the end pieces. So they cook faster, and having them towards the middle, they won't burn. And as you can see, there's a nice, even swirl. You know, some people will sit there and have them evenly distributed, same amount on every row. I just find I get more on a pan doing it this way. And as they bake, they go up versus out. But I never get the same amount of cuts every time. So for me, it's just a matter of how many cuts do I have and how do I want to do it. Like this time around, I have almost the right amount of cuts to do 3 across. And because I don't have a full dozen, I'm just going to leave it like that. And because this end is bigger than this end, I'm going to put it over here. It's just personal preferences. Now, I've had my oven preheating. You want it to be at least 350. And my oven right now is at 375. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit so it's down to 350 because I prefer that. And in she goes for about 20 minutes. I don't know exactly how long because I go by smell. Recipes say 15-20 minutes. It depends on the pan you're using. It depends on how hot your oven is. So for me, it's really about the way that it smells and it looks. But right now, it is going to be started to time. Well, the cinnamon rolls are in the oven. We start to make our frosting. Frosting, I really don't have a true measurement recipe because I do it all to taste. There are some times when I make it sweeter, sometimes when I make it more creamy. It really depends on your taste. But bottom line, the only thing that is consistent is 1 brick of cream cheese and about a teaspoon of vanilla. And then it's however much sugar you want to have for your cinnamon rolls. Yep. as I drop it. Now, it is definitely 100% easier to make the frosting if your cream cheese is at room temperature, because it is much more softer and more pliable. And this is what I do for the vanilla. One, two, and that's it. I cream this up, and then I start adding the powdered sugar until I have it to the flavor that I want it. Once it is creamed like this, putting the sugar in it is going to be much easier. Definitely start off with a little bit. And continue to go on from there. Because you can always add more once you put too much in there to where it doesn't taste the way that you want it. It is hard to get it back unless you add more cream cheese. And if that happens, you're going to have way too much frosting. And you're just not going to know what to do with it. Now, sometimes I will use maple extract if I want to do maple frosting. It really depends on, and that tastes really good on the cinnamon rolls. Let's see where I'm at. A little bit more. It's almost there to what I want for me. I'll just put a little bit more. Now, if you're just doing this for you, double dipping in it, licking your fingers, whatever, it doesn't really matter because it's only you eating it. But whereas I have multiple people eating it, I waste a lot of plasticware. Ooh, I hit the sweet spot. That is delicious. And then you just set this aside. If you want to chill it, chill it. If you don't want to chill it, don't. But if you chill it, it'll hold better at the top of the hot muffins or cinnamon rolls. It'll hold better. And it will melt and ooze so much better. But I'm just going to leave it there and wait for my cinnamon rolls to be done. You are gonna have wonderfully tasteful with caramely sugar butter at the bottom cinnamon rolls. And you just dollop it on. And enjoy. Though if you put it on when it's right out the oven, it is gonna melt and go ooey gooey everywhere. Which is what I like to do. So that way it goes in all the nooks and crannies. Woo. And you have exactly the right amount of frosting. Enjoy, guys.